Welcome to 40 Days of Love, Session 3. Love speaks the truth. This week we're going to talk about something that's critically important and is necessary skill for everybody to have, but I doubt many of us actually have this skill. I know I'm not very good at it. This is a skill that we're never taught. It's not taught at home. It's not taught in schools. There's no college course for this. Nobody ever sits us down and says, let's learn this today. What I'm talking about is the skill of loving confrontation. Loving confrontation. It's how to confront somebody with a loving attitude that builds the relationship. Sometimes you have to say some tough things that others just don't want to hear. But this is a key to loving relationships. Most of the time we simply beat around the bush or we just ignore it altogether because we don't want to do this. Jesus always knew the right thing to do. And when you study his life, you see that sometimes in Jesus' life, he avoided conflict. Sometimes he resolved conflict. And then sometimes he actually created conflict. He provoked it. In your life, there are going to be times that you must do these three things because they're going to be appropriate in your relationships. Sometimes you need to avoid, sometimes you need to resolve, but sometimes you need to create conflict. That sounds kind of counterintuitive to relationships, doesn't it? But it's the way it works. Most people misunderstand the phrase keeping the peace and think it means avoiding confrontation at all costs. But repressing the truth rather than dealing with the truth causes trouble. The Bible says, it's Proverbs 10:10, someone who holds back the truth causes trouble, but the one who openly confronts works for peace. In theory, we all think that honesty is the best policy, but in practice, many people show that they believe it's the opposite. They don't think it's such a good idea. Love isn't easy or fun. Sometimes it takes courage to love someone. Our key verse for this week sums this up. It's 1 Corinthians 13:6. Love rejoices with the truth. Another verse that speaks to this reads Ephesians 4:15. Speak the truth in the spirit of love. Love and truth always go together. Love and deception never go together. If you're going to genuinely love people, sometimes you must love them enough to tell them the truth. Let's consider 4 steps for how to speak the truth in love before you confront anyone. You must, number 1, check your motives. In other words, why do I need to talk to this person about this issue? There are a lot of bad motivations to confront somebody. Jealousy, irritation, frustration, or maybe you just want to get even with somebody. Those are not good reasons to confront. Sometimes people want to point out something wrong in others' lives so that they can feel spiritually superior. Those are not legitimate reasons for confrontation. So what is the right motive? Well, it's to help, not to hurt. You can see this in Paul's letter to the Corinthians, 2 Corinthians 12:19. We tell you this as Christ's servants. Everything we do, dear friends, is for your benefit. In life, there are 2 kinds of relationships. On one side, there are shallow, superficial relationships, and that's where most people are in life. On the other side, you have deep, meaningful, intimate, significant relationships. And those are the relationships that people are looking for, but they don't know how to move from superficial to significant. How do you get from one type of relationship to the other? Well, you have to go through what some have called the tunnel of truth in order to do that. See, the way that works is on one side, you've got these superficial relationships. And on the other side, you have these beautiful, significant, intimate relationships. And the way you get from one side to the other is you have to go down through the tunnel of truth until you come up on the other side, significance. Now see, here is where a lot of people are not willing to put in the work. Here is where a lot of people, they'll say, oh, no, I want to move our relationship to a deeper level. I want to be, we want to be, prayer partners, battle buddies. We want to be, whatever it is that you call it. You want one of those significant relationships. So you're over here and you start down. And you start down and you hit these issues that people don't want to talk about. You hit these issues where, okay, that causes chaos. That is a definite confrontation. That is a critical conversation. And 9 times out of 10, people just say it's just not worth it. So they reverse and they go back up and they live in shallow land, okay? Well, look, if you want deep, significant relationships in your life, then you have to be willing to confront. You talk about the stuff that, when you're in these shallow conversations, these shallow relationships, everything is just smiles and it's kind of, oh, hey, how you doing? It's so good to see you. But when you're in one of those significant, intimate relationships, oh man, those are the ones where I need to tell you how I feel about this, and the other person understands. Most people won't make that journey. Most people won't move from shallow to significant. They're willing to forego one of the most precious things you can have in this world, and those are significant relationships. They settle for superficial. So the first step to speak in the truth in love is to make sure that your motives are pure. Make sure that you want to help, not hurt. Next, okay, and this is where you're going to put some work in, okay? Number 2, you have to plan the presentation. Confrontation is not something that you do spontaneously. You have to think through what you're going to say before you say it. You engage your mind before you engage your mouth. If you don't hear anything else from this particular life group lesson, please hear that. Just because you think something does not give you the right to say it. Do you understand? You may have a thought in your head that never needs to come out your mouth, okay? If it's something that has to be said, then you need to plan how you're going to say it, because you need to make sure that it's received the way that you intended for it to be received. You engage your mind before you engage your mouth, before you put your mouth in gear. Proverbs 16:23, intelligent people think before they speak. What they say is then more persuasive. You are never persuasive when you're abrasive. If you're abrasive, then you're not going to get the results that you wanted to come through this thing, okay? Paul is a great model for this. When he had some painful truths to present to the people in Corinth, look what he said. It's 2 Corinthians 2:4. For I wrote you out of great distress and anguish of heart with many tears, not to grieve you, but to let you know the depth of my love for you. He's saying that he needs to let them know some tough things. So he's really putting in a lot of prayer time, a lot of tears into this message. He cares enough to confront them on tough subjects. When you need to have a confrontation with somebody you love, you need to plan 3 things. The first one, you need to plan when you're going to say it. Timing is everything. Don't say it when the person is tired, under pressure, or in a hurry. If you're doing this in love, then you need to think of the best timing for the other person, not the best timing for you. It might work well for you, but don't do it if it's not going to be good for the other person. 2, plan what you're going to say. I plan when I'm going to say it. I plan what I'm going to say. Proverbs 25:11. The right word at the right time is like precious gold set in silver. Now, there are two things that you need to plan when you're going to have a confrontation. And this might sound silly, but if you've never done it, you need to understand you have to plan these things. And the first thing you have to plan is an introduction. How do you introduce a touchy subject will determine how your subject is received. Okay? You must start with humility and gentleness, as you do want to help them, not hurt them. Never, get it? Never use sarcasm or begin in anger. If your introduction is sarcastic, you just blew it. You absolutely blew it. That is the wrong, oh Lord, wrong way to start that. Now, I'm putting so much time into this because I have seen this play out before my eyes. I was not the one doing it, but I was witness to somebody having a hard conversation with somebody, and they started out with the most sarcastic statement I had ever heard, and the other person just stonewalled, just, what? Come on now. Your introduction, the way you present the subject, is how it's going to be received. Then you need to come up with some illustrations. You know, something may make perfect sense in your mind. Something may be just, yeah. Oh, that's good. Yes, I need to show them this. But you know what? An illustration in your mind that works well to illustrate your point, since you know what your point is, may not be a good illustration for them. When planning the introduction, you introduce it in a way that they're going to understand. When coming up with illustrations to illustrate what it is that you need to change, you illustrate with things that will help them understand. You must use illustrations that help them, not you. This is not about you. This is about them. Remember, you're trying to help them. All right. The third thing you need to plan is how you're going to say it. All right, so I plan when, I plan what, and then I plan how I'm going to say it. Proverbs 12:18 reads this way: thoughtless words can wound as deeply as any sword, but wisely spoken words can heal. It's all about the way you say it. If you thoughtlessly come at somebody, you are going to provoke them. You are going to hurt them. If you say it offensively, they're going to come back defensively, and that's not what you want. You want a level playing field here. You know, you're not above, they're not above. You're not below, they're not below. You're right there. It's an even playing field. We need to have this conversation. But if you think of how you're going to say it, it has great potential to heal the person you're talking with. Proverbs 15:1, a soft answer turns away wrath. Guys, it's just as simple as tone it down. You might just need to lower your voice. Don't come as a school teacher. Don't come as the authority. Don't come as a disciplinarian. Pay attention to how you're speaking. Now, see, I really have to work on this one, because when I get passionate about something, I tend to come off abrasive. I know that. My wife has taught me that in the years that we've been together. She said, dude, you're saying the right thing, but you're saying it the wrong way. You might be saying the right thing at the right time, but you're saying it the wrong way. And you know what really sets people off? It's this. You need to pay attention to what I'm saying. Oh man, you can say a lot of things at me. You can say a lot of things, and I said that the way I intended. You can say a lot of things at me, but don't point at me. Get your finger out of my face if you want me to listen to what you want me to hear. Got it? So, there's an equation that goes like this. Truth plus tact plus timing equals transformation. Truth Yeah. Tact, when, what, how. Timing. Hey, I know you're busy. Let me just run this by you. Oh, no, no. Okay, truth plus tact plus timing equals transformation. If you want to transform a relationship, a marriage, a friendship, or any other relationship, it takes more than truth. See, some people think, well, I was telling the truth. Yeah, but how were you telling it? How were you telling it? 3, give them affirmation. Give them affirmation. When you've checked your motivation and you've planned your presentation, then you move to affirmation. Because truth often hurts. You must speak in love. You must couch the truths in terms of positive affirmations. You put affirmation on either side of the truth. It's like building a sandwich. Bread, meat, bread, right? Okay. I know bread's bad, right? We're not supposed to eat it. But bread, meat, bread. I don't want a sandwich with the meat, bread, meat. You know, it's going to be messy. You know, where are you going to hold the mayonnaise? By the way, mayonnaise, yuck, mayonnaise. Okay. So affirmation, truth, affirmation. Proverbs 12:25. A word of encouragement does wonders. When you're speaking the truth in love, you must affirm things in their lives like you deeply love and care for them. You're going to pray for them and you're going to help them. You believe they can change. You believe God is going to help them change. You believe that your relationship can be better, and you believe that you can be closer than you are now. But when it comes to confrontation, speaking the truth in love, you must be willing to do the 4th step. And the 4th step is this. You have to be willing to risk their rejection. To risk their rejection. That's tough, but it's really an act of love. You must be willing to risk the rejection to speak the truth in love. Paul did this. I'm going to read you a lengthy passage, several verses together. 2 Corinthians 7, 8 and 9, and then 12. It's on screen for you. I know I distressed you greatly with my letter. Although I felt awful at the time, I don't feel at all bad now that I see how it turned out. The letter upset you, but only for a while. You were jarred into turning things around. You let the distress bring you to God, and that is what I was hoping for in the first place when I wrote the letter. The truth is, it's scary to speak the truth to somebody. You don't know how they're going to react. They may get mad, they may resent you, they may walk away and never come back again. They may attack back. You just don't know. So this is scary, and you're going to take a great risk, which is why most of the world settles for shallow, superficial relationships. If you love the person you're in a relationship with, you must risk rejection and be willing to absorb the initial anger because you love them. That takes courage. When you refuse to speak the truth in love, you're killing the relationship. If you just keep dismissing your grievances in a relationship instead of dealing with them, you're killing the relationship, and you're not doing anybody justice. So it's time for a frank question. Who do you need to have an honest conversation with? Who do you need to speak the truth in love to? What are you pretending isn't a problem in your relationships? What is it that you're pretending not to know? A loving confrontation can make all the difference in your relationships, but you must be willing to do it. You can't handle this level of love in your life unless you have a high level of maturity in your life. Now, what I would love is for you guys to continue this conversation in your life group. It's time to get down and dirty, folks, and it's time to talk about the way in which you do this. It can be a lot of fun. especially when people start giving you examples. Remember, no names. No names. Love you guys. Hope to see you next week.